Okay. Topic. Okay, let's get this. Oh, it is Monday, another Monday. So, if I were to ask you, do you know your worth? Wow. Allowing a man to treat you. What's up, Facebook? What's up, Instagram? Just putting the title on Facebook and we're going to get started. Okay. While allowing a man to treat you like. Where are you watching from? Type it in the comments. And also, can you hear me? Just type yes. I would love to know. Even if you're watching in the replay, I still get the notification. So I would love to know. While allowing a man to treat you like trash. You would say. Okay. Pin comment. Okay. All right. On Facebook, can you hear me? I believe I have the mic on. Type yes in the chat if you can hear me. And we are about to have a little 20-minute conversation. Okay. All right. So today's topic, if I were to ask you, do you know your worth? Right. I ask a lot of women this question. Even if you're in a relationship and you're allowing a man to treat you, as I say, trash, you're in a dysfunctional relationship, you're in a relationship that isn't fruitful, flourishing, or fulfilling. If I were to ask you, are you a strong woman? Do you know your worth? Like if we was in a club and we was like, all the independent, strong women scream, you would scream. Even if you're in this relationship and you are being treated as trash, you would say that. You would say yes. Okay. And here's why you would say yes. This is why you would say yes. Think about it. In that situationship you're in, that marriage you were in, or even just some dude you're dealing with, you're so good at masking, sweeping things under the rug, believing that this is the heart of relationships. So it's just normal. You're so good at believing this too shall pass. It'll get better. You're so good at going to brunches with your girlfriends and performing happy. Because no one wants to be the girl that isn't happy in her relationship, right? Because you have heard the things, know yourself, know your worth. You can sing the Drake song with the best of them. You know Maya Angelou's saying, when people show you who they are, believe them. But because you don't know how to really actually apply it to your life, you just start performing it. You're in the space of performing. I know that I'm a strong, independent woman. I know myself. I know my worth, because no one wants to be the girl that isn't happy in her relationship. No one wants to be the girl that is being constantly treated like trash by a man. You don't want to. That's why when it's not happening to you, you're able to be like, girl, I would just leave, or why do you allow that, and this and that. But when it's you and you have the rose colored glasses on and you are in love, this is what you're doing. You're performing. I know my worth. I'm an independent woman. So then what happens is, so once you finally get up, like once you finally get fed up and you leave, because we do that. Once we get to a point, like women, we will check out and be like, I'm done. You will write off dudes. And sometimes you'll actually take him back. How many of you have written off a guy, even a guy you're dating, in a quote unquote serious relationship, and you're like, I'm done, I'm breaking up with him today, and then you never do it? You just take him back because he apologized. Okay. So you go through that cycle a couple times, probably about 7 times. And then when you finally get out of that relationship, here's what you do. F guys, I'm never going to date him, or I'm never going to date again. You get this mindset of like bitterness. Bitterness starts to set in. And you're like, I'm going to just be single. I'm going to just be single because I don't want to go through that again. And I'm glad that you don't want to go through that again, but just being single, letting time pass, your willpower, asking advice from friends, your sex toys, you're building this wall up. And even just like, I'm gonna just leave it up to God, this attitude of I'm gonna just leave it up to God, is never gonna, it's not going to stop you from being in a situation like that again. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to stop you from being in that kind of relationship again. Because that's what you want, right? You want to be treated well. You want to be loved. You want to be respected. But time passing, that is not going to get you what you want, most likely. You have to be doing something in that time for you to actually stop that cycle of dysfunction. You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead. Same lane. So you can't just say, oh, I know myself. I know my worth. I understand when people show you who they are, believe them. And I would never let a man. Just having that performance of attitude is not going to actually stop that from happening to you again. It's not. Unless you're just bitter and you're like literally never going to date again. And I'm not saying if you are somebody who's like, I'm asexual, I'm never dating again, automatically means you're bitter. But the woman that I'm talking to, my ideal client, you have that attitude and bitter is seeping in. So when you get out of that relationship and you're like, you know what, I'm going to just be single. And you have this attitude, I know myself. I know my worth. It's not going to work. Okay. So let me, I have notes. I always have notes because I always have points to prove to you so you can see yourself. Oh, okay. All right. So that's what you believe you have to do to get the result that you want. The result that you want is to be loved, respected, treated well in a relationship that's fruitful, flourishing, and fulfilling. You want that. And you just believe having this attitude of, I don't need a man. I know my worth. I'm going to have a sex toy. I'm going to build up a wall. I'm going to pray about it. Is going to get you the actual relationship that you want. It is not. Okay. I'm going to throw some scripture at you. In Matthew chapter 7, it talks about Jesus states that those who hear his words and do them are wise builders. They have built their homes on rock solid foundations. The winds howl, the rains come, even a flood comes, but the house stands firm. Those who hear his words but fail to live by them are foolish. Okay? So what you're doing in this time of attitudeness and pretending you know your worth and you're a confident single woman, you're not actually building a good foundation of who you are. Because you've never actually taken the time to figure out who you are, to figure out what a healthy relationship is versus unhealthy relationship, to figure out humanness, to figure out that there is a difference between healthy heart and just plain dysfunctional. Nobody ever sat you down and had that conversation with you, but you think, well, I'm gonna just let time pass. I'm not gonna date for a while. I'm gonna just go on my journey. And you have this attitude, but you don't even know what the journey is supposed to look like. You just think all I have to do is let time pass and then I'll automatically become this confident single woman. No, you won't. No, you won't. And you're so busy in this time of bitterness thinking about all the things men do wrong instead of thinking about you and all the things you do wrong. How can I get better at setting and keeping boundaries? How can I get better at knowing who I am? Those are the questions you need to be asking yourself. You know, the Bible talks about above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So this performance of confidence and all men are trash and I don't need a man and I'm going to just be single for a while. Guess what you did? So instead of letting this bad company corrupt your good character, which is what you did. Hold on, let me get my notes. Okay, so instead of letting this bad company corrupt your good character, you need to be working on learning how to not allow that to happen. What's up, Isaac? God doesn't ask you to build a wall. Fences, boo, not walls. So you are performing this. I'm a confident woman. I don't need this. I'm never going to let a man do this. And you're performing this. And that's coming from the bitterness because you were treated like trash. Instead of looking at yourself and saying, you know what? I need to figure out how to not do this. I need to really sit down and study myself, study God. What does God want for me? What is God's best for me? Not what is man's best for me. And we on this platform, on Single You the podcast, here on Instagram, here on Facebook, I talk about your mindset around singleness a lot. And you have not a lot of negative thoughts about you being a single woman, which puts you in a situation like this. You do. You do. Yeah. So I'm just taking it all in. Okay, let me read this question. What are the red flags to watch out for? Haley says, how do you know when someone isn't treating you well when that's all you know? What are red flags to watch out for? You know what, Haley? I got a video. I forgot that I wanted to show this video. Okay, hold on. Let me pull this up. And then on Instagram, I'm going to have to flip the camera. I hate how on Instagram, it doesn't let me share like videos while you're live, but whatever. Okay. All right. So this is a client of mine, and I'm actually going to cover the screen. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to play this audio and let you hear it, Haley, and then we'll discuss. This video is only 3 minutes. Haley, if you're still watching, let me know. Type yes in the comments. Yeah, can you explain to me like a red flag that maybe you passed up that you would never do again?
Easy. So early on in the relationship, I'll say a few months in, he actually let me know that he was visiting and staying with an ex-girlfriend who had become a close friend of his. Right, exactly, that face. Exactly, right. So I'm like, I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. No, seriously, I felt like I don't really like that, but I don't know him that well, so I don't think I should be tripping about it. Like, we'll see what happens. And I guess the red flag was not just that, but that he went and he sent me flowers to kind of say thank you for being okay with this, or thank you for trusting me about this. And he told me, I don't remember if this was over the phone or this was in person. When he came back, he was like, yeah, she tried to push up on me and da 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 da. Exactly. He was like, but I wasn't having none of that. And it was just kind of the way that he was telling it. It was like, I feel like you kind of enjoyed getting real close to that line, or you know what I'm saying? So that was very strange to me. And then over time, it was just a series of inappropriate, weird interactions with other women, which turned into cheating, and all of that fun stuff. So all the red flags.
Yeah, I want to sit here because I just had this topic on Single You the podcast with another guest, and we talked about how passing up your gut feelings gets us in trouble.
Right? Plays you every time.
Yeah. Right, every time. And you just said like things were not feeling right. And so when we're dating these men, or whoever you decide to date, how does your body feel when you're talking to him, right? So would you say that you were in a constant like minimizing yourself, not sticking up for yourself, not knowing how to set boundaries? We always somebody anxiety.
All of the above. I didn't know how to stand up for myself in that way. Like any other aspect of my life, killing it. Like not an issue, right?
Yeah.
But voicing like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this. Hey, this is giving me anxiety. Yeah. I feel uneasy about this. I didn't even have the words. And meanwhile, I think in terms of how it impacted my body, it's like a tightness in your, like literally in your gut. And I found like if I'm giving like a side eye and I can feel it, or I can feel my face just being like, what the hell? Like that means on a gut level, I have a problem. Like, yeah.
All right. So Haley, I am going to stop the share so you can see me again. Okay, Haley, before I get into it, as I'm situating back on Instagram and Facebook. What did you get from that video? Okay. Okay. And on Instagram, I'm sorry, it's just not set up to show videos. So don't worry, this full episode will be on Single You the Podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. So like Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and more. Okay, so you'll be able to get the full, well, at least the audio version. Okay. All right. So from that video, my client here, Z, talked about passing up her gut feeling, right? And her situation, which by the way, this full conversation, I had a full hour conversation with her on Single You the Podcast about where her mindset was before she hired me, and then where her mindset is after hiring me, and working with me and working through all of that, right? Because her parents also never had a conversation with her about what makes like a healthy relationship versus unhealthy, the difference between healthy hard versus like straight up dysfunctional. And so if you're coming from a situation like that, and then we're just expected to do this thing that humans do, which is date, get married, and have kids, of course you don't have a foundation. You haven't built a foundation of how do you do that in a healthy manner, especially if all you know is dysfunction from maybe even your parents. I mean, not to mention, again, not even having the conversations, but all you know is dysfunction from your parents. Okay, I'm trying to pull up my notes. Okay. So of course you're going to be in this cycle of like, I don't even know what way is up. Okay. So the advice that I could give you, Haley, is you need to trust your gut. How does your body feel when these actions are happening to you? And also you need to get some verbiage and wording around how to stick up for yourself. Okay. And that is the problem that a lot of us have. Like she said, her other life, her professional life, her career is on fire. Like it is great. It is wonderful. And she's killing it over here. But when it comes to relationships, she had no idea what she was doing. You know why? Because in the career aspect, they give us a blueprint. You know, whether it's go to college, get a trade, do this, do that. You know, if you want to be a doctor, you know exactly the steps that you need to take to become a doctor. But what are the steps that you need to take to become full and whole in yourself so you can be a true confident single woman instead of performing confident single woman and then execute that in your life? Well, you got to know yourself. Okay. So here's the blueprint that I teach inside of Single You Academy. Number one, know who you are deeper than your favorite color is blue. What are your triggers? Okay. What do you like? What don't you like? Okay, so then you can start guarding your heart, as the Bible talks about, and not building a wall, but just a fence. So you can guard your heart. So you got to know who you are. Number two, know what you want and how to get it. Because a lot of us, we do kind of know what we want, right? I want a healthy relationship. I want him to love me the way I want to be loved. I want to be treated with respect. You know you want that. You just don't know how to get it. Because again, nobody gave you the blueprint. Okay. And then number three, have the audacity to believe that you can get it. Stop listening to social media, these relationship gurus, these people who say you're being too picky. You need to have the audacity to believe that you can get it. And my ideal client is a woman in faith. And I want you to have more faith in God than what society is telling you that you are allowed to get. You're being too picky, girl. That ain't going to happen. Who said? Who said? And then number four, the patience to wait for it. The problem is we don't have the patience. Our mindset around what we think about being single. We think we're a failure. You think you're a failure because you're single. If this relationship doesn't work out, that means I'm a failure. So then your patience lacks and you settle. Well, I'll just go for the next guy who has at least 5 things off my list of 15. You settle. So I'm going to tell you what another client of mine said, okay? She said that her friends, after she hired me as her coach, her friends was like, why would you pay for that? I could have taught you that. And she said she responded to her friends, no, you couldn't, because you weren't going to push me to the level by which literally doors started unlocking and helping me to have the strength to walk away from BS. She also told me that Single You Academy started off as an accountability for her to stay focused on what her goal was, which was to be a confident single woman. And she goes, I didn't bank on what I didn't bank on was that it was going to push me this far. The investment is worth it. If you really value investing in yourself, you're okay with going beyond the surface. Okay. So the problem is we don't go beyond the surface. We say, again, if I were to ask you, even in a relationship where you're not being treated with the utmost respect, if I asked you, do you know your worth? Are you a strong woman? You'd be like, yeah, girl. Yeah. Hashtag blessed, hashtag confidence, or confident woman. You would say that because you think that's what you're supposed to say. Again, nobody wants to be the girl. Hold on, let me get my quote right. Nobody wants to be the girl that isn't happy in her relationship. Nobody wants to be the girl who's being treated like trash by a guy. And it was wash day today, so my hair is like drying as we speak. And I haven't even put product in it, just conditioner. But yeah, you don't want to be the girl that isn't happy in her relationship. You don't want to be the girl that they're like, girl, he treating you like trash. You don't want to be that. So you're going to lie. You're going to perform it. You're going to mask. Yeah, of course, I'm a confident, independent woman. Of course. What? Okay. And I was there. I know this because I was there. If you would have asked me, so I was in my, and I'm sure you've heard this on my podcast before and on my platform, in my emotionally abusive relationship from 2015 to 2017, I promise you, if you would have been like, girl, you was an independent woman, I'd be like, yeah. Going to brunches with my friends, like, yeah. And I was hiding what I was actually going through in that relationship, performing confidence because I was embarrassed. Yet I was letting this man tell me that I had to cut off friends. So I did for him. The club story that I tell often about when I went to visit him at the club because he was a security guard and he asked me to go sit at the bar so he could watch me, so he could watch how I turned down men. And I did it. Oh, but you couldn't tell me I didn't know I wasn't independent and strong. You couldn't tell me that. But I was constantly letting this man walk all over me, performing confidence, performing it. And I don't want that for you anymore. You need to start applying pressure and figuring out who you are, investing in yourself. Books, mentors, coaches. The Bible talks about having wise counsel. So what your parents did, all of our parents, especially if you're millennial and younger, right? Well, actually, shoot, I would even say baby boomers. My parents didn't get this conversation from their parent. None of us did, right? Maybe the generation, 2 generations removed, like if I had children, we would be talking about actual relationships, tangible things that you can do to help yourself so you will not be in dysfunction. But we don't have these conversations. So now it's up to you, 35-year-old, 42-year-old. You said you want to be confident in your singleness. I want you to, but I don't want you to perform it because, well, that's what I'm supposed to say. But are you, though? What do your behaviors with men show you about you? And I say this with love because I was there. And as Maya Angelou says, when you learn, you teach. And so again, if you were to ask me in that relationship, did I know my worth? Of course, I would say yes. But when I finally got out, I decided that I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be bitter. Because what does bitter do for me? That's eating me from the inside out. That I'm not happy. And I didn't want, again, that situation to ruin me, to affect the way that I felt about myself. And so that's when I transitioned and said, you know what? I actually need to like figure out who I am. Who am I? Who does God say I am? And how am I going to show up in this world from now on? And I took that lane instead of the I'm going to be bitter. I don't need a man. Confident, single woman. All I need is a sex toy, soothing my singleness. No, I really went on a journey to figure out how I can never experience that again. Okay. Okay. So you're watching this video and maybe you feel like I'm talking to you and you know you need to change. Because here's what I want to say, right? I've said this before, you can be full of inspiration and full of ignorance at the same time. You can be so inspired by Tracy Ellis Ross and her single journey and how she is just killing it as a confident single woman. You can be so inspired by Maya Angelou and all her words and advice that she's given to us as single women. You can be so inspired by Oprah and yet and still be in relationships that are not fruitful, flourishing, or fulfilling, and yet and still choose the lane of bitterness. And I don't want that for you. So if you are actually a woman and you're like, yo, I know that I need to change, I just don't know where to start. I want to invest in myself with my time and my money. How do I do that? Start with me. So, what you can do right now is send me a DM, the word boundaries, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. And you and I can set up a next step call. Okay. So, if you want to learn how to set and keep boundaries, not only with yourself, but men, if you want to actually discover your worth, you want tangible ways to do that instead of all of this inspiration that is doing nothing for you. Let's get on a next step call, which is on Zoom. So, all you have to do is DM me the word boundaries and we can start that conversation. Doors to Single You Academy are open now. They close on November 7th. I want you to take your life by the reins. Is that what they say? What's that saying? So you know you need to change, but who around you is capable of guiding you through a true self-love journey? A self-love journey is way more than getting a massage, way more than saying you actually know your worth. When your actions with men show you you actually don't. A self-love journey is way deeper than advice from friends. It's way deeper than willpower. If you don't actually study this, study yourself, you will always be in a cycle of dysfunction 9 times out of 10, or you'll just be bitter. So book a next step call with me. If this resonated with you, all you have to do is DM me the word boundaries. We'll start the conversation. And I'm going to leave you with this, okay? I wanted to be a woman who didn't just perform confidence. I actually wanted to be confident in my singleness. I wanted it to show up in my actions. I no longer wanted to just perform confident once he broke up with me. So I started to imagine who I was, who she was. In 2017, I started imagining the woman that I wanted to be, and I did everything in my power to become her. And here is her. Single, extremely confident, and I still desire a husband, and that's okay. But I am not bitter, and I chose a different path for myself because I never wanted to be in a relationship like that again. So I decided to study this area of my life, and I hope that you do the same. So go ahead, send me the word boundaries in my DM, and we'll talk.